When Shamu steps off the train at a deserted rural station, he expects a simple walk to his aunt's house in Himmatnagar. Instead, he walks directly into a masterclass on the mechanical structures of fear. Today, we are going to break down exactly how this story engineers its dread. The opening minutes methodically strip away Shamu's safety nets. The story quickly removes daylight as the evening sun disappears. It removes the comfort of a crowd, leaving him entirely alone on a dirt road. And finally, it removes clear weather. A calm evening suddenly collapses into a torrential downpour. Lightning flashes, and the heavy rain forces Shamu to run for cover at a crumbling, isolated bus stop, pushing him completely off his planned route. This setup creates an isolation hook. By severing a modern, skeptical protagonist from his usual conveniences, the narrative forces him to rely on the only people left on the road, strangers. And by trusting them, he instantly becomes vulnerable to their ancient, localized folklore. Shamu finds a rickshaw driver who flat out refuses to take him to Himmatnagar. The driver is terrified, warning Shamu about two merchants who disappeared on that exact road, and a schoolteacher whose hair turned entirely white in a single night. This timeline maps out the specific local lore the driver shares. By laying out the paths of the missing merchants and the traumatized teacher, the story establishes hard stakes. Next, Shamu meets Kaka, a 70-year-old man running a tiny tea stall in the dark. Without Shamu saying a word, the old man already knows he's heading to Himmatnagar. Kaka delivers one non-negotiable instruction: if you hear your name in the dark, do not turn around. Our timeline updates, creating a barrier called the taboo. In folklore, a taboo tests obedience against basic human nature, sitting between the traveler and their destination. This sequence places a heavy psychological burden on the traveler. To survive the final stretch, Shamu must actively fight his own ingrained instincts. Shamu continues down the pitch black road. The environment actively warns him. Crickets screaming, frogs croaking, and the wind whistling like a siren through the trees. Then the trap springs. A slow, comforting, familiar voice calls his name from the darkness directly behind him. In that split second, Shamu's rational brain tries to protect him. He tells himself it's just a hallucination brought on by exhaustion, or an echo of his childhood memories playing tricks on his mind. Supernatural horror preys on this exact conflict. The tension between his rational denial of the danger and his emotional vulnerability to a familiar voice forces an error. He breaks the one rule keeping him safe. Shamu turns around.
He comes face to face with his uncle, dressed in white, holding a lantern in the rain with an unnatural smile. This action serves as the narrative point of no return. The story instantly shifts from an atmosphere of implied danger into an active, breathing, supernatural reality. This split-screen model illustrates the physical discrepancy as they walk. Normal mechanics leave deep footprints in the mud. Conversely, his uncle glides silently, leaving no tracks. Notice the highlighted space beneath his feet. This lack of interaction signals the entity is unbound by physics. Breaking a folklore taboo invites physical danger, yes, but more importantly, it instantly transports the protagonist out of the realm of the living, dropping them into a space where reality itself begins to collapse. Shamu and his uncle arrive at a decaying ancient house. His aunt greets him with tears of joy, but the emotional reunion feels deeply, aggressively wrong. The story utilizes the uncanny valley in its environmental storytelling. This happens when a space looks almost perfectly normal on the surface, but is invisibly corrupted beneath it. The interior immediately rejects the reality of the outside world. While the summer night is hot and humid, the air inside is freezing. Dust-choked family photos lean at unnatural angles. In the corner, a large clock ticks loudly, but the hands refuse to move. When Shamu points out how much the house has changed, his uncle offers a chillingly ambiguous reply. Time changes everything. The climactic shock arrives in the courtyard. Shamu pumps the handle for water, and thick black sludge pours out of the spout, before suddenly glitching back to clear water.
the story leaves this moment unresolved. We have to question whether this was a product of Xiamu's deteriorating mind or a temporary crack in the paranormal matrix currently holding him captive. Xiamu has surrendered his agency to this haunting environment. By disregarding every warning and dismantling the psychological barriers meant to protect him, he has left himself entirely at the mercy of whatever waits in Part 2.